Good morning, all of you. Okay, so today again we will continue with the same civics chapter, working of institutions. And yesterday we just started with judiciary, all right? And we had a look that our system of government is such that executive is made answerable to the legislature, whereas judiciary is free and independent. Okay, that is what we had a look. And we also had a look that in our country the whole judicial system, it is single and integrated. What that means is that the laws of the Supreme Court, they are binding. Whatever they say, their guidelines, they are binding on all the other courts in the country. Alright, so at the national level we have the Supreme Court, then state level we have high courts. Alright, district level we have district level courts. Alright, but there's a difference, like the High Court and the Supreme Court, they hear both type of cases. They hear civil cases also as well as criminal cases. But at the district level we have separate courts for civil cases and for criminal cases. For civil cases we have district courts, and for the criminal cases we have sessions court. But the same judge, he presides over both the courts. The judge is the same, but he presides over both the courts. The courts are different. And then at the local level we have few other courts, like in villages we have panchayats, all right, and like court of the munsif and all. At the lower level we have that. Okay, now the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, now they have not given a proper heading here, but now we'll study about the jurisdiction or the scope of authority, means over which cases the Supreme Court has authority. Okay, so the first one is here what we call as the original jurisdiction, means over few cases the Supreme Court has original jurisdiction. What that means is that these cases can only be presented in the Supreme Court and no other court. Alright, so few cases can only be presented there, and now but otherwise Supreme Court, they can take disputes between citizens of the country, between citizens and government, between state government, one state government and the central government, or between state governments or 2-3 state governments against the government, and even the cases regarding fundamental rights, the violation of fundamental rights, they are also heard in Supreme Court. And one more thing, the cases involving fundamental rights, they are heard only in High Court and Supreme Court, not at the district level courts. So if there is any violation of the fundamental rights, we can go to the High Courts and the Supreme Court. Okay, now the second type of jurisdiction that Supreme Court has, it is called as appellate jurisdiction. Now what that means is that through appeals, cases can be brought from the lower courts to the higher court. Alright, and so like if people are not satisfied with the verdict given in a high court, so they can move to the Supreme Court. But you know, it is not that if district level court you are not satisfied, you can straight away go to the Supreme Court. No, it is not like that, because our system is integrated. It is in the form of a pyramid. So you know, you go step by step. At the district level court, if you're not happy with the with any verdict, so you can make an appeal in the High Court. If you're not even happy there, then you can go to the Supreme Court. So that is called as appellate jurisdiction, means through appeals we can take the cases to the higher courts. Okay, now we have already seen that we have independent judiciary. Now what that means is that it is not under the control of legislature and executive, and what that means is that they don't have to follow the directions given by the legislative body or the executive body, means neither the law making body nor the government. They don't have to take their decisions, or means whatever they say they have to do. It is not like that. They are independent and free, so they can take their own decisions. And that is why you know, all modern democracies throughout the world, they now tend to have an independent judiciary. And now India has already achieved this, and you know, the judges of the Supreme Court, they are appointed by the President. Now this is in consultation with the Prime Minister and also the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Now what that means in practice is that the political executive, they do not have much say as to who would be the judges of the Supreme Court. It is basically the senior judges of the Supreme Court that decide that who would be the judges of the Supreme Court. And the senior most judge of the Supreme Court, he becomes the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and he is also called as the Chief Justice of India. Alright, so the judge who heads the High Court, he is called as the Chief Justice of High Court, but you know the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, he is also called as the Chief Justice of India, because Supreme Court is the highest court in a country. Okay, and you know they are appointed by the President in consultation with the Prime Minister and the senior most judge of the Supreme Court. But you know, once they are appointed, there is very little that the political executive can do. They cannot dismiss them from their position. So it is as difficult as changing the president or the vice president while he is still in office. So once they are in office, it is very difficult to dismiss them, and the president, the vice president, the judges of the Supreme Court and the High Court, they can only be removed from their place during their term through a movement which is called as impeachment. Alright, otherwise till their term is complete, you cannot change them, you cannot dismiss them. Alright, and it is only through impeachment. You know, impeachment motion is also just like other motions, like a no confidence motion, or just like any other bill which is passed in the parliament. But you know, any other simple bill that has to be passed by a simple majority, like 50-51, it is passed. But for impeachment motion, it has to be passed separately by both the houses, and that also by 2/3 majority. Alright, if that is not so, then obviously there would not be any impeachment. And till now in India, no one has been impeached. Alright, till now, no history of any impeachment. Okay. Now, the judiciary of India, now it is also one of the most powerful judiciary in the world, and you know why? Because the Supreme Court, they have the power to interpret the laws which are made by the government. Now that could be the state government or the, which other government we have? Central government or the union government. So the central government is also called as the union government. So our Supreme Court and the High Courts, they have the power to look at the laws which are passed by the state governments or the central governments, and see that if they are not according to the ideals of the constitution, then they can call that law null or void, means of no effect at all, zero effect. Alright, and that is what is called as the power of judicial review, that they can review the laws which are passed by the union government or by the state government, and if it is not according to the constitution, it can be called null void. Okay, now one more thing, the powers and the powers of the Indian judiciary, you know, they have so much power, and they also are independent, and now that also makes them as the guardian of our fundamental rights. You know, our fundamental rights are justiciable. Now we will not be doing the last chapter this year, because that is not in your course for this year. Otherwise you would have studied about the fundamental rights, which I think you must have studied in class 8. Alright, fundamental rights you have studied in class 8? Yes, you have. I know, I teach class 8 also. Okay, alright, and so our fundamental rights are justiciable. Now what that means is that if our rights are violated, we can move the courts of law. We can go to the courts to get our rights back restored to us. Okay, so you know the Supreme Court here in our country and the judiciary, they are also you could say they are called as the guardians of the fundamental rights, and we can always go to the courts. Now that is not only that if any other person has violated our fundamental rights, but you know, even any organization or even if the government, they have also violated our fundamental rights, then also we can go to the courts. And you know, this is our 6th fundamental right also, the right to constitutional remedies, that the right to go to the courts, that also has been made a fundamental right. So that what it does, it makes it more powerful. You know, otherwise if anyone does anything wrong to us, we can go to the courts. But now going to the court is also my right. Like if anyone violates my fundamental right, it is my right that I can go to the court. So it makes it more powerful. Alright, and that is what our judiciary does, that it is the guardian. It looks that we get our fundamental rights and no one violates it. And now in the recent years, the courts, they have also given several judgments and directives, and that is, on the basis not of what normally happens in the case in the civil and criminal cases, that the aggrieved party, the party who is grieving, all right, like on whom something bad has been done, now that party goes to the court to file a case. All right, like civil cases, there are two parties involved, so one will go and they will file a case. In criminal cases, the procedure is that they file the FIR, and the police, they file a charge sheet in the court. All right, but now, so what that meant, that the grieving party, the aggrieved party, that goes. But now what happens in matters of public interest, if anyone else also is seeing that the government is doing any other thing, is doing something, or any organization is doing something which is against the interest, the general interest of the public, so anyone can go and file a lawsuit or a petition, and that is called as a PIL, or public interest litigation. All right, that anyone, whether I am concerned, that issue concerns me or not, but if I am seeing anything around me that could harm the people, or that is against the interest of the people or the welfare of the people, then I can file a PIL in the court. All right, and filing the PIL is very easy. It could also be sent in the form of a letter, like a telegram. All right, and that can be taken as a PIL, or the public interest litigation. Okay, and now all this is done to prevent the use of the government's power, so that they do not misuse their power, and this is also to check the wrong practices, the malpractices that the government officials do. Many times, because they think they are in government service, so they can go about doing anything. So this public interest litigation, it is all because, so that we can raise our voices against the government also, and against the government officials also, if they are using bad practices, all right, and they are doing things which are against the general interest of the people. All right, and that is why, because of all this, the judiciary in our country, it enjoys a high level of confidence among the people. Okay, so that's it. That completes the chapter. Hope you all have understood. Yes? All right, so we still have some time. Let's start with the question answers. 5 minutes, 5-6 minutes we have. In my watch it is 9:44, so that gives us 6 minutes more. Doesn't matter. Time, very precious. Come on, take out your copy. Hurry up. Where will you write the questions then? Right? If you have enough space there in the book, then write in the book. Hurry up. Get ready with your pens and your register. That also you cannot do in class 9. Everything you want me to give to you? Still I will send, don't worry. Alright, first one. Why are political institutions important? Why are political institutions important? Why are political institutions important? Question mark, explain. Yes. Next. What is the tenure? What is the tenure? T-E-N-U-R-E. What does tenure means? Yes. What is the tenure? T-E-N-U-R-E. What does tenure means? What is the tenure of the president in India? The term? Alright? Like we have term of the governments, we have also term of the president. Okay. So, what is the tenure of the president in India? Question mark? Mention the qualifications. Mention the qualifications. Mention the qualifications for President of India. Mention the qualifications for President of India. For President of India. Okay. Number 3. What do you know about money bill? What do you know about money bill? What do you know about money bill? Question mark. Compare the powers. Compare the powers, P-O-W-E-R-S. Compare the powers of the Lok Sabha. Compare the powers of the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Compare the powers of the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha regarding money bill. Compare the powers of the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha regarding money bill. Okay, next one. Under what circumstances? Under what circumstances does the president? Under what circumstances does the president? Does the president exercise his discretion? Exercise his discretion. D-I-S-C-R-E-T-I-O-N. D-I-S-C-R-E-T-I-O-N. Discretion in the appointment. In the appointment of the Prime Minister. In the appointment of the Prime Minister. Question mark. Who appoints the other ministers? Who appoints the other ministers? I will repeat the question. Under what circumstances does the president exercise his discretion in the appointment of the Prime Minister? Question mark. Who appoints the other ministers? Full stop. Next. Lok Sabha is more powerful than Rajya Sabha. Lok Sabha is more powerful than Rajya Sabha. Put this into single quotes. Lok Sabha is more powerful than Rajya Sabha. Put this statement in single quotes. Explain. And in this particular question answer, you will write all the 3 points that are given in the book. Okay, so when we meet again, then I'll give you the rest of the. Why tomorrow? Alright, so that would be all for today.